morning, everyone. This is Firefighter Klosterman. I'm going to talk to you guys today about logging into the FirstDo app, setting up your account, and then a little bit of app orientation. So when you first open your app on your smartphone, you're going to be presented with the login screen. There's two ways to log into FirstDo. You can use a truck account or you can use your personal account. I'm going to be logging in with my personal account to demonstrate that right now. So your email address for your personal account is going to be your city email address, and then your personal password. When these accounts were first set up, everyone got a standard FirstDo login password that was AFR FirstDo, all one word, where AFR is capitalized. So you can try that if you have not set up your FirstDo account yet. You can also too, if you have trouble, click forgot your password right here. That'll give you a standard forgot password prompt screen where your password reset link will be sent to your city email address. So that's another way you can get your password set to log in if you have trouble. So I'm going to enter my password and log in. So after you log in, you're presented with essentially what is the home screen for FirstDo. I'm going to talk about some features of the home screen here real quick. We're going to start in the top left corner and work our way around the app. So first off, in the top left corner, you have the FirstDo button. This is essentially where you're going to log out of the app when you get off shift and you're done using the app. So you're just going to tap that button, and then your logout is right here at the bottom of the screen. You can also search for addresses. Works exactly how you'd search for an address in Google Maps. It's a pretty nice feature if the AFR CAD is down and your calls are not automatically sent to FirstDo. You can still search for an address where your call is going to be located. Then in the top right corner, the bell icon. This allows you to either permanently or at a certain date silence notifications. So let's say I didn't want any notifications right now. The easiest way to turn notifications off is tap that bell icon and hit permanently. When notifications are turned off, you'll see a slash through that bell. If I want to turn them back on, I just simply tap the bell icon again. Now I have notifications back on. Okay, moving on. We have the layers button, which is right here. This is pretty important for setting up how your map looks in FirstDo. So what we're going to do is open our layers. First off, I can select whether Google or the City of Albuquerque ArcGIS map overlay is presented. We strongly recommend Google. So you have the City of Albuquerque ArcGIS overlay loads a little bit slower. It just doesn't look as clean as the Google overlay. Then we also recommend satellite view versus street view. This is basically what's presented on your Google Maps app is a standard satellite view of the map. I think this is something people are going to be pretty familiar and comfortable with right here. And then our map layers. So we want to make sure we leave hydrants pre-plan and annotations active. Basically what this does is if you leave these layers active, you'll see hydrants on the map, you'll see pre-plan icons on the map, and you'll see certain annotations on the map. Those all help you get the maximum value out of FirstDo, so we want to make sure we leave those active. Moving on, we have the ruler tool. This allows you to measure distances on the map. It's pretty simple. It's a handy little training tool. Basically, if I want to measure distance, I'm just going to tap the ruler button, tap once on the map where I want to start measuring distance, tap once if I want to change direction. So let's say I wanted to turn right. That allows me to change direction, and then I double tap to end measuring distance. Pretty simple. So moving on, we have the north arrow button. This is a navigation tool that will basically change how the map appears when you're using navigation functions in FirstDo. Navigation functions will be covered in a later video, but basically this is where you select whether you want the map to orient in your direction of travel, or if you want the map to be locked in a north orientation while you're navigating. That's really simple. You just tap the button and it'll change how FirstDo makes navigation appear. The targeting button will move the map to your current location. I'm at the Academy right now, so it'll move to my location right there. And then on the bottom, we have the menu, we have chat, we have the map, and incidents. Incidents is going to be your incident list. We're going to talk more about that in a video covering how to use First Do during a response. But basically, if you tap the incident button, that will take you to your incident list. The map button will always return you to the First Do map, which is what you see presented here. Chat isn't utilized by AFR, so we are not going to be talking about that. Then our menu button. So the menu button is pretty important. We're going to open the menu. And this is where I have access to my settings and user preferences. We're going to talk more about the pre-planning button in the video on how to use First Do to complete a pre-incident plan. And then outside resources and hydrants aren't utilized by AFR, so we're not going to talk about those. But the most important difference is our settings and user preferences. So when you log in on a truck account, you're not going to have access to settings and user preferences. You will have access to these when you log in on your personal account. This allows you to change how the app looks and feels while you use it, and allows you to customize your user experience. So we're going to start with settings. When you open settings, you have a couple options at the top. It defaults to settings, but I can also change over to notifications or changing my password. But with settings, basically how it works and what we care about here is all the stuff you see appearing first you don't really need to worry about. But what we do want is our dispatch units down here. So this is where you change what truck you're on. And you can select any truck in the city. So if you float out, you go from engine 11 to, let's say, engine 12. This is where I would change what truck I'm on. So open that up. There's a little bar right here, and I can search for a particular apparatus. So let's say engine 12. Now I can select engine 12. Now I'd have to deselect engine 11 if I only wanted calls for engine 12. But basically this shows you how to search for a particular apparatus under your dispatch units. Now before I exit the screen, I have to make sure I click Save. Okay, now we're going to talk about the user preferences. So there's a lot of things you can change in user preferences that affect how the app looks and feels. So at the start, as you can see in user preferences, we can change a lot of things related to your alert ringtone, whether alerts are repeated, how long you store dispatches for. You guys are all just going to have to play around with the app and figure out what works best for you with like your alert ringtone, how loud the ringtone is, etc. But what I want to focus on is your zoom level settings and your map marker size. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So we're going to open zoom level settings. So what zoom level settings change is at what zoom level on the First Do map certain icons appear. We're going to talk about the 1 and the 2 first. These are address icons that First Do populates. We're not going to be using the address icons on a routine basis out in the field, so we're not going to talk about those today. But what we do use all the time out in the field are pre-plan icons, which are the flag right here, and our hydrants, which is the hydrant icon right here. We recommend that the hydrant icon be set to an 11,000 foot zoom, and I'm going to give you an example here in a little bit of why that's important. And we recommend our pre-plan icons, which are the little flag, be set to a 3,000 foot zoom. To change the zoom level, all you have to do is tap and hold on the icon and then drag to whatever zoom level you'd like those particular icons to appear at. And then lastly, we have the Always Show Dispatches button. What this will do is when you get a call, First Do will display an incident icon on the First Do map at the location where your call is. If you select Always Show Dispatches here, that will freeze that icon on the map, and that icon will appear at any zoom level you have the map at. We recommend you leave this turned on because we feel like it does make navigation a little bit easier to have that icon locked to any zoom level. So we have our hydrant set to an 11,000 foot zoom. I'm going to talk about real quick why that's important. So we're going to go back out to our home screen, and we're going to find a fire incident. So what's really helpful with First Do is it displays hydrants on the map. So we can spot hydrants on the way into the fire and know exactly what hydrant we're going to try and use on the way into the fire. So what we have right here is a fire last night at Lead and Yale. So we tap our incident to open it, and then we have our incident details right here, which we'll talk about a little bit more about using First Do during a response. But we want to see the whole map. We tap the map button down here, and we want to zoom out. And then hydrants at an 11,000 foot zoom, I can see all the closest hydrants to our fire incident, but I can also see our secondary hydrants and our tertiary hydrants. So in the event that our primary hydrant is out of service, we know where our secondary hydrant is going to be located. Okay, so we talked about how we want our hydrants at an 11,000 foot zoom. And I have on the map a fire call near Lead and Yale. And why putting the hydrants at 11,000 foot zoom is important is it allows me to zoom out on the map where I can see our primary hydrant, potential second hydrant, and then multiple backup hydrants along our approach paths to the fire incident. So this allows us, as we're driving to the structure fire, to identify what hydrant we'd like to use as our primary hydrant. And then if anything happens where we cannot use our primary hydrant, we have a game plan before we even get to the incident where we know what our backup hydrants are going to be. So going to 11,000 foot zoom allows me to see where the fire is going to be at, but it also allows me to see multiple hydrants on the way in to our structure fire. So lastly, we're going to talk about map marker size. What map marker size does is it changes the size at which icons appear on the First Do map. This is going to be all of our pre-incident planning icons. This is everything from our Knox boxes, alarm panels, stairwells, building hazards, any icon that appears on the map. This is where you change the size it appears. We recommend quarter zoom or minimal zoom to prevent icon resizing, but this is a personal preference at the end of the day. So you can have your icons as big or as small as you would like them. That's the last thing we're going to talk about in user preferences, and this concludes our Intro to First Do training video.